Hey everyone, welcome to the Kelly channel. This is my first live, and the topic of discussion for this first live is Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck's drama and alleged upcoming divorce. So I have a special guest for my first live, Mr. OG. We're going to bring him on and we're going to talk about Jlo and Ben's relationship and if we think they're going to get a divorce or not. OG,
Good
welcome
evening,
to the
Kelly.
live. How is it going?
It's going pretty excellent. How are you doing today?
Your connection is cutting out.
I said it's going excellent. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. Did since this is our first live, were you able to hear my introduction?
Yes, ma'am, I surely was. It was an incredible and excellent introduction.
So I think we should just jump right into it. Let's talk about Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. I'll just give a quick synopsis. So the pair dated about 2 decades ago for a couple years. They were engaged to be and were about to get married, and then Ben broke it off. And then they came back together a few years ago after 20 years. And after about a year and a half, Ben Affleck proposed. They got married in the summer of, I believe, 2022. They purchased a $60 million mansion last summer for $60 million. And all the media outlets have reported that they are quietly trying to sell this mansion and they're looking for 65 million. It's been on for sale since the month of June. So, and then another thing would be that Jennifer Lopez came out with a documentary and a movie about her love for Ben Affleck, and ever since the movie and documentary has come out, it looks like they are heading for divorce. So you can elaborate on what I said or what you think is going on?
Well, one thing I want to say, if someone you loves makes a movie about how much they love you, that's a huge amount of pressure to try to deal with, don't you think?
Pressure for Ben Affleck? What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's just you might think, like, let's say you think you love somebody on like a level 6, but then they drop a movie saying they love you on a level 10. So now you're trying to push your love up even higher. And from my research, Ben Affleck is not handling this breakup well.
So you think it's possible, so you're suggesting that Jennifer Lopez is more in love with Ben Affleck than Ben Affleck is in love with her?
Honestly, I think it's crazy. I think it's the difference. I think Ben Affleck is more in love with J Lo, but J Lo gets over relationships a lot easier. So this relationship is ending, and I think J Lo is prepared for it. But from my research, Ben Affleck is having a horrible time. You know you're having a horrible time with a breakup when you have to reach out to your ex, Jennifer Gardner, to help you with the breakup.
So we know that Jennifer Lopez dropped a Netflix documentary and movie celebrating her love for Ben Affleck. And this came out about a year and a half after they got married. and it was called The Greatest Love Never Told. So if they do indeed, in my opinion, if they do indeed getting divorced, to me this would be very embarrassing on J Lo's part when you title a movie "The Greatest Love Never Told" and then right after you drop it, within months, like maybe about 2 months after you drop the movie, you're already heading for divorce.
Tell me how interesting you find this. J Lo has been married several times. I think Ben Affleck's only been married once before this. I don't think he's as used to these Hollywood celebrity relationships as you would expect him to be with the amount of success that he's reached.
So, what do you think? So they dated for a year and a half. So they previously dated 20 years ago. He broke up with her then. Then they got back together 20 years later, dated for a year and a half. Obviously in 20 years there should be have been some growth. I would have I would have imagined they talked about their relationship how it was 20 years ago, and I would imagine that they sat down and talked about like what they would do differently this time to make sure that it works. I mean, who knows? It's Hollywood. But, after dating for a year and a half and then being married for a year and a half, they're already so basically they've been back together for 3 years, married for about a year and a half, and then actually almost 2 years because they got married in August of 2022. So, basically it's almost 2 years, but the media's been talking divorce for about maybe 3 or 4 months now. So, what would make them head for divorce about a year and a half into the marriage?
Honestly, in my opinion, I would say it's just her history. You got to think 20 years ago when they broke it off, you know who she started dating next? Puff Daddy. Then the whole incident with the shootout in the club occurred. You know,
I actually, to correct you, Diddy was before Ben Affleck.
oh, okay, so he was before, but then after that 1 year relationship, I mean, A Rod, can you imagine being married to A Rod and then a famous Latin singer? It's almost like it's almost like she was settling for Ben Affleck.
That she's settling for Ben Affleck right now?
Yeah, because I don't think even though I actually like a few Ben Affleck movies, I don't think he's reached the level of success as uh A Rod, Alexander Rodriguez, who was a shortstop for the New York Yankees.
Well, maybe so. That A-Rod's a legend in baseball, but he's no longer active in the league anymore, so he's not at the same level that he once was.
I would have to agree. I think she married him at the decline of his relationship. I mean, at the decline of his relationship with sports, and then they didn't survive shortly too long after. I want to say it wasn't Enrique Iglesias,
It
but
she okay, so first she dated Diddy, then she went to Ben Affleck. Then after Ben Affleck, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, the first time with Ben Affleck. I am not totally sure who she was with immediately after that, but she did marry Mark Anthony. They were married for 7 years and they have twins. Then after that, she dated a backup dancer that was like about maybe 10, 15 years younger than her. He was definitely a lot younger than her. They dated for like 5 years. Then she left that backup dancer, and then she got with A Rod. It seemed like she was really into him, but A Rod was caught multiple times cheating. The media showed that he was messaging a blonde either on Instagram or some social media app. And then after they released that story, it had to be within maybe a month or so. She already left A Rod, and then maybe within a month of that or a few weeks, she was already photographed with Ben Affleck. And
So
then,
would you consider Ben Affleck a rebound, or do you think it is the greatest love never told and the person she should have been with this whole time?
well, I would think that she, okay, so they were already together 20 years prior. And so I don't think she would have went back to Ben Affleck if I mean, she was interested. She wanted to go back. So she went back. I mean, she probably got fed up. There's probably things about A-Rod we don't know. I'm sure that he's probably a serial cheater. So she was probably fed up with A-Rod, and they were both single, and I believe Ben Affleck is the one who reached out to her, and then I'm assuming I guess I would assume that they already dated, and she probably is thinking about him in the way that they were 20 years prior. So she gave it another shot. She probably had nothing to lose. I mean, she realized that A Rod was cheating, he wasn't serious. So she gave Ben Affleck a try. But for me, I'm wondering, in that year and a half that they dated, and then another year and a half to 2 years that they've been married. So I mean, I'm aware that they didn't just start having problems today. The problems had to have started months ago, but they just bought a $60 million mansion a year ago. So the problems had to have started probably after they purchased the mansion. So what could have went wrong from when they purchased the mansion a year ago up to about 6 months ago? Something had to have gone wrong like during that time. So I'm wondering like what it is, because I would imagine like in the media, it does seem like for people that love to follow J Lo, she definitely loves attention. But I would think that in he knew her 20 years prior, and he was dating her for a year and a half. He knows what kind of woman she is. Even if he wasn't with her, he knows what kind of woman that she is, what she's about. So why I'm wondering, why did he marry her if the media is correct that like they're two different types of people? She thrives on attention, and the media claims that he wants to kind of live a private life. So I would think that they would have talked about this before they got married, if that's really one of the issues that they're having.
I honestly think it is one of the issues. I mean, I want to say a year to 18 months ago, especially with Latinx culture really blowing up in America, I feel, J Lo started touring again. She got to more movies. She had a hit song out last year. So I just think the media starlight attention was just invigorating her. While on Ben Affleck's side, it was kind of like, oh, this isn't what I want. I think when he got with J Lo, especially after A Rod and the infidelity, he was expecting her to be more settled in life or ready to maybe retire from the limelight. But again, about a year, 18 months ago, she kind of got reinvigorated in the limelight. And I think that might have started driving the wedge between them.
Well, so that would be a year. Okay, if a year or a year and a half ago would be right around the time that they got married. So what I'm saying is, while they were dating for that year and a half before they got married, wouldn't they have talked about this? I mean, you could just look at someone's like social media pages and see that she likes the spotlight. She has a lot of brand deals, so she definitely needs to stay in the public eye. She's not one of the celebrities that just makes a movie and then, is in hiding. She has endorsements, and she uses her beauty to sell products. So, what
Do
do you
you
think?
think do you think the rift between them could be a jealousy rift? Like Ben Affleck, even though he's been in some critically acclaimed movies, I would still say J Lo is the more successful in that relationship. Do you think he's jealous of Jennifer's success?
No, I don't think that he's jealous of her success. And I do agree that she's definitely way more, I mean, she's a household name. And not that he's not a household name, but globally, everyone knows who J-Lo is. Um, I guess what I'm wondering, to me, if they end up getting divorced, if I was her, I would be embarrassed. Like if me and you got married, if we dated previously and we broke up and we come back together and then we've been married for, about a year and a half, I release a movie about you with that type of title, and then as soon as we release this, we're having all kinds of problems. We just bought, a $60 million mansion together. I would be very embarrassed. Like, that's me personally. I would be embarrassed, like, to be getting a divorce that quickly after releasing a movie like that. Like, I would have thought that to to make a movie like that with that kind of title, you need to be sure that this is the last guy, the last one. There can't be another guy after this.
So now I gotta ask you the elephant in the room question. Who do you think wants to break up, J Lo or Ben Affleck? I'm thinking J Lo wants to break up more than Ben Affleck does. Cause what I'm hearing from the reports is that Ben Affleck has been snappy with the paparazzi. He's reached out to his ex Jennifer Garner to help him through this transitional period. So it seems to be taking a heavy toll on him. But what are your thoughts?
It depends on what articles I'm reading. I mean, did you ever see the videos that came out about maybe about a year and a half after they got married? There's at least two videos you could see on YouTube, or on any social media platform. There was an award show that J-Lo and Ben went to in early 2023, and the camera was at, when you're at award shows, there's multiple cameras, like, showing the crowds at different times. Well, J-Lo and Ben were arguing while the camera was filming on them, and then when they noticed, they stopped arguing. So, like, they were in the crowd at the award show, they were arguing, but no one knows about what, we couldn't hear what they were saying, but they were arguing, and then when they realized the camera was on them, then they stopped. Then there's another video which actually is more serious, um, because couples can argue or bicker about stuff. But there's another video that I've seen multiple times on YouTube. I'm not sure if you know that Ben Affleck was addicted to alcohol. So there's a video that came out last year where J-Lo and Ben were out and about. Like, I don't know what they were promoting, but they were promoting something. And J-Lo picks up a drink and smells it to see if it's alcohol. To me, this is embarrassing. So J-Lo picks up this drink off of a table, she smells it, and then, like, her and Ben are, like, going back and forth, but, like, we don't the public doesn't know what they're saying. But when you look at the video, it's clear that um J-Lo is trying to make sure that that's not an alcoholic drink, and then he looks like either whether it is or is not an alcoholic drink, it looks like he's trying to convince her that it's not, but she looks pissed in the video. So those are a couple things that the media has that the public has seen that might give a glimpse into some problems that might be plaguing the couple. Like, maybe he was still secretly drinking. Because I'm thinking that if he was formerly a alcoholic, and let's say that he stopped, if I'm dating you and you used to be an alcoholic but you stopped, it's been years, why would I pick up a drink to make sure it's not alcohol if you haven't drank in years? It wouldn't even, like you would be past that point where I would just I wouldn't even be checking your drinks. Like why would I check your drinks if you haven't drank in years?
I agree. And then there was one video I seen. It'll seem innocuous to a lot of people because it's just Ben opening the door and getting her in the car, then walking to the other side and getting in the car. But if you've seen the video, Kelly, I mean, first he just looks so annoyed. But she's still the good woman. Then he gets her in the car and it's an audible slamming of the door. Then he looks up and he exhales like he's just the most annoyed man ever in the existence. Then he walks over to his side and gets in the car. Being in relationships, I've been in an argument when you're out and about with your significant other, and it's so hard to get back into that confined space with someone that you're having an uncomfortable or tenuous relationship with, but you still have to make it home. So I've definitely seen what they would say glimpses of unease in the relationship. I think we all will have a difficult time pinpointing what the exact impetus of this breakup is.
Well, I definitely have seen the video. I think JLo's walking with like a coffee in her hand, and then he opens the door for her, and then he slams it kind of hard, right? Is that the video?
Yes, ma'am. That's the one I'm referring to. It seems so like an innocuous video, but when you really add up the sum of its parts, you really say, wow, it's some unease here.
Mhm. So, what would cause? I've never been married. You've been married, right?
Affirmative.
What would cause? Okay, so to me, okay, one thing I don't I mean obviously we don't know these people, but they're in their 50s. So these people are mature, they've dated plenty of people, had plenty of failed marriages, and so what would cause a couple to date for a year and a half, and then let's just say, because some of these videos we're talking about are pretty old now. So these videos about a year and a half old. So actually not far after they got married or around the time they got married. What would make a couple that has been together for a year and a half or 2 years when they already previously already been together, what would make a mature couple in their 50s start having all these problems? Like I'm wondering, wouldn't they have talked about these issues before they got married?
If they haven't, they should have, because I think it's highly strange. A year later, $60 million expense on a home to now the problems are too big to overcome. So I have to admit I'm just as confused as you. I know breakups, especially from a marriage perspective, happen long before the actual breakup happens. But I'm thinking a year times being together, married, dating for a couple years, previously dated. I agree with you wholeheartedly that these are conversations they should have been had.
Because like Ashanti and Nelly, I'm not sure if you know, but they're actually already married. TMZ pulled it up about a month ago that they were married like back in December, and Ashanti's having her first child. And just like J Lo, Ashanti and Nelly dated back in the early 2000s, and then they went on to date other people and they came back together a decade later. But the way that they seem and the way that J-Lo and Ben seem is totally different. Like there hasn't been any negative reports on Ashanti and Nelly. And I even if there was, I wouldn't believe it because I've been following Ashanti and Nelly, and ever since Nelly got back with Ashanti, he's always smiling. You have not seen them. There's no videos or photographs of them arguing, looking angry. Not saying that they don't ever, argue, but out in public, they Nelly looks so happy.
And I have to.
Like
I'm
like let me finish this one point. They look like the ones who should be releasing a movie saying that they have the greatest love never told. Like I think it's kind of like, I guess you could say, interesting to have dated someone, whether it's Lo or Ashanti, to have dated someone previously and then come back and find them again. But Nelly looks like happy. Like, I feel like Nelly, when a Nelly and Ashanti got together, they were obviously a lot younger. And, Nelly's a rapper. So that lifestyle, when you're a rapper, it's probably very hard to resist the temptation of sleeping with your fans. Like, I'm sure, not that there's been any reports that he's cheated, but I'm pretty sure that he was not an innocent guy when they were first together, and now he's like 49, 50 years old. He's probably a lot more mature now. He lived that rock star lifestyle and he's ready to commit. He realized that Ashanti was the one for him, and it took him apparently 20 years to figure that out.
Now, I am a little more abreast on the Ashanti and Nelly love affair, and I would say it's exactly what we thought was happening with Ben Affleck and J Lo, where Nelly always wanted to be with Ashanti. I don't know if you're abreast about the Irv Gotti from Murder Inc. and how he was in a relationship with Ashanti from all them years. And the Nelly relationship was one of the controversies between Irv Gotti and Ashanti. Like, Irv Gotti was married, but he was so mad when he seen Ashanti smiling and taking pictures with Nelly. So I really think Nelly just waited it out. He was like, I want this woman and I'm gonna have this woman. And that's why he wouldn't commit during the time of his career, because I think she was honest with him about what she was going through. And then once she was completely free of Irv Gotti, Nelly just refused to let her go. So now I'm wondering, maybe, just maybe, do you think it could be a third party in this Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck relationship that we're just not privy to that information yet?
You're suggesting if either one of them has somebody waiting in the wings?
Or more, they could have somebody who's ruining the status quo of the relationship thus far.
No, I would think that if either of them two went back to each other, that they thought this was going to be the last. I'm trying to think like a normal like a normal person. I am not going to go back and date someone that I dated 20 years ago with the intent, like I guess the way I how I see their relationship, I would not date someone again. Plus, she's 50. Also, J Lo's 54 years old. She's gonna turn 55 on July 24th. And I mean, how many more relationships? Now, don't get me wrong. She looks great. She works out, but realistically, how much more time does she have to bag another guy that she would actually want
It,
without having to date, like, not like, dating near on her level, like another actor, another athlete? Like, how much more time does she have?
I think J Lo, for her age range and status, I think she has an unlimited amount of time. I think no person, maybe 45 plus, who's successful would consider themselves settling or doing bad with J Lo. But on the other hand, four failed marriages later, you kind of got to start thinking maybe J Lo is the problem.
So let's say when she was engaged to A-Rod, so, and he was cheating. So how is that her fault? Does that indicate maybe there wasn't an adequate nighttime life on their part, or what do you think?
I think it's what you're speaking to. I think Ben Affleck, especially being a private person, I think
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm talking about when J-Lo was with A-Rod. when she was with A Rod. I think that A Rod is about 5 years younger than J Lo. I don't think he's even 50 yet, so he might be like 49 or so. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe he's about 5 years younger. So I mean, he proposed to her, and like, do you think matters? Do you think that her age mattered, or do you think that A Rod was gonna be A Rod? Like, this is who he is. That he just cheats.
Well, I have to admit that especially being a sports fan, I think at the time, A Rod was considered this golden boy, straight and narrow, could do no wrong. And he was retiring at the time when he got with J Lo. But then the relationship with J Lo is what exposed us to all the heinous characteristics of A Rod. So we thought he was just this clean cut, straight and narrow guy. And then he gets with J Lo, who's, considerably older than him, and he's continued to cheat. He's probably the most successful man that she has ever dated. So I thought it was quite interesting, that relationship. I really do think him being 5 years her junior played a significant role in the relationship. But to what tenacity or degree, I really couldn't tell you. I just feel the amount of success, because remember, he was successful from, I want to say, 16 years old onward, until his marriage with J Lo, and that was kind of his magnum opus to the limelight. Like, their divorce was his receding from the limelight. So I definitely think the amount of success for how long he had it at such a young age definitely played a huge part in their breakup.
Well, okay. I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. A Rod and J Lo weren't actually married, but I could look this up. I believe they dated for like 4 or 5 years. They were engaged, but they never got married. Probably due to the stories of him. He messaged some. You know what's interesting about A Rod is that all the women that he's dated that the public knows about were always white women that were blonde. And J Lo, I'm not saying this is a reason, but just pointing out that all the women that that A Rod has dated were white blondes. J Lo is the only non-white, and she's not a blonde woman that he dated. And then the woman that he's dating now is a white blonde. So he was so his so you could answer as a man. I don't know. I can't answer this, but if your dating history is white blondes, then you date one Latina and then you go back to white blondes. Does that suggest anything? Or like do you think he made an exception for J Lo and his type is white blondes? Or like how is he only dated white blondes and then he dates J Lo and then goes back to dating white blondes? Like what does that mean to you?
I mean, this might sound like I'm passing the buck, but I really think it was a make my mama happy thing. Where it's like, okay, I'm attracted to white blondes, but like again, he was at the age in his career, his retirement, where he was ready to retire. So he's like, okay, I'm ready to settle down. I'm gonna be with J Lo. Which everybody applauded that relationship. But like you said, then it didn't work, and he went back to dating white blondes. So what I think it is he has a type, but when he thought about marriage, he said, "Well, let me try to date, someone from my culture to marry," and it just happened to not work out. But definitely, if all you date is white blondes, and then you try something else and that don't work, and then you go back to white blondes, it's definitely indicating white blondes is your type.
So kind of like if a black man only dates white women and then he dates a black woman and then he goes back to white women after, you would say that his type's really white women?
Yeah, I would say his type is white women. I hate to do a brother like that, but hey, if that's the majority, you are the majority of what you do. Does that make sense?
So, what do you think about a person that over the course of their life, their dating history is different races or different looks of, of men or women? Like, for example, let's say a person has dated or had 10 relationships in their lifetime, and let's say a couple of those people were white, couple of them were Hispanic, a couple were, another group. Does that What do you think about that?
Well, I think if it's spread evenly amongst the groups, then his type is just female, and he's willing to explore, and he's open to different races and cultures. So I would think that is more indicative of somebody who dates a person for the person, as opposed to somebody who only dates white, then dates a black, then goes back to exclusively white.
So I looked it up. Jennifer Lopez and Alex Rodriguez started dating in February 2017, and then they got engaged 2 years later in March of 2019. So it took them 2 years and a month to get engaged. And then in March of 2021, there was a report issued to the media that they were having a separation. So basically, they dated for 2 years, got engaged, and then 2 years later, there was a report about them being separated, and that was around the time that I told you that story came out, where I think an IG girl actually put what's his name put A Rod on blast for messaging her on Instagram. Like, you would think he'd make a fake account, or like, I don't know why you'd message another woman from your main account. That doesn't make any sense. What do you think about that?
Well, it turns out with a lot of, 'cause I watch a lot of celebrities and, famous athletic stars, and what they're saying is it's only a small group that really knows how to navigate social media. So it's not uncommon for people like A Rod when social media first came out. Paul Pierce was having trouble, separating the two different worlds. So it's not strange to me that he wouldn't be aware of, Finsta accounts and vanishing text and Instagram. But I don't know. I don't understand why some of these superstars who have such a tremendous amount to lose make so many small, insignificant steps when it comes to dealing with random women online.
Well, the thing is, when you are a famous person, a politician, an athlete, a singer, someone in the public eye, like, did he think he didn't realize that he was a former professional athlete, and that in this day and age, most likely the woman that he messaged might put him on blast? Like, he didn't think about that?
I hate to blame it on hubris, but that's exactly what I think it is. I think, especially in A Rod case, again, since he had went semi pro, I want to say in high school at like 16, well, like they knew he was going pro. So him being famous for so long, I just really thought he was like, I'm A Rod. Nobody's gonna say anything and risk messing this up. But he was just unaware of how unscrupulous some of these IG models can be.
I mean, I don't know the exact history of A-Rod, but I'm assuming he probably had a 15-year plus professional baseball career. He doesn't know where to go to get chicks on the side quietly and discreetly.
I
Like,
mean,
why would okay, if you were A-Rod, okay, if you are a famous man and you want to step out, on your, whoever you're dating at the time, they don't know how to do this quietly. Like, why would you message someone on social media um instead of trying to, have fun discreetly.
I think it's the level of access and attraction that social media offers. Because you got to think these guys, when they go to the club, every woman wants to get with them. When they go to simple things like the grocery store, every woman wants to get with them. So then you give them this little handheld device where they have access to so many women. They're still thinking their reputation and everything they got on the line is going to precede them, and that whoever they decides to engage with is aware of all this information, and it's really just a fool's mistake. I think he just was unaware of how profitable, maybe damaging, his reputation can be for some people.
So do you think that when A Rod and J Lo were dating, do you think that A Rod actually wanted to marry J Lo? Or do you think, like, why do you think he proposed? Like, I'm sure that he knows deep down inside who he is. So being 5 years younger, and I wouldn't say that necessarily it's the age, but being 5 years younger, and regardless of how old he is, he's still a man and he has needs and he's famous. Do you think that he thought he was going to be a good, like, do you think he was trying to be a good man, or like do you think that he wanted to be with her and his plan was to cheat on the side?
I 100% believe this was a marriage of convenience. I think he thought, okay, I'm still going to be A-Rod, but being so successful, and because it's part of our culture, I think I can get with J Lo and she'll just be happy to be in the mansion, to have access to the wealth, and not cause too much of a trouble. But what he did in that assertion was discount the amount of success that Jennifer Lopez has achieved. I think a successful woman is less willing to put up with the BS of a successful man. So I think that was his misstep. I don't think he ever planned to be faithful, but I thought he assumed the benefits of being married to A Rod with more self correct J Lo. Then he would have to self correct himself. If that's making any sense to you, because I can understand a lot of people's, or a lot of women's trepidation with dating superstars on the level like A Rod, because he literally had access to such a countless amount of women, and he's so used to getting his way that I think it was appealing to not always get his way with Jennifer Lopez, but then at the same time, in the grand scheme of things, he decided it was not advantageous for him to be in a relationship with somebody he can't get his way with.
Okay, so I looked it up. So, like I said before, for everyone listening, you guys don't be afraid to post a comment in the chat. This is my very first live stream. So, it might not be the best, but we're trying. So, I looked up the history of J Lo and A Rod, and also her going back with Ben Affleck. So, like I said earlier, J Lo and A Rod started dating in 2017. They got engaged after 2 years in 2019. And then in March of 2021, they released a statement that they were working out on things. They officially broke up a month later in April of 2021. So, everyone, pay close attention to the dates I'm giving you. So, uh, they officially broke things off in April of 2021. And then in July of 2021, only 3 months later, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez confirmed their relationship again. So that's 3 months. But obviously, if she left A Rod in April and then she confirmed her relationship to Ben Affleck 3 months later, they were obviously dating for some time before they confirm the relationship. So that's only 3 months. But for me to confirm a relationship, I probably have to be dating you for at least 1 month. Or what do you think?
No, I 100% agree with you. And if you really delve into Jennifer Lopez's history, if you from our common standpoint, she has a history of overlap in her relationships. If you look at her relationship with Mark Anthony, she was going to New York Yankees games to see A Rod with Mark Anthony in attendance. So I think maybe it's no fault of hers, but I think Jennifer Lopez has an issue with closing out relationships before starting a new one.
So do you think so okay, so do you think that first question, do you think that J-Lo and Ben Affleck are indeed heading for divorce like the media is claiming, or do you think they can work it out? Before you answer that, so this weekend was the 4th of July and J-Lo is over in the Hamptons. They claim that her kids are with her, but I haven't seen one photo with her kids. But either way, Ben Affleck is in California and she is over in the Hamptons for the 4th of July. So, and they haven't been photographed together for like a month now. And then when they were photographed a few times before that, it had been like 47 or 54 days that they hadn't been photographed together for. Now, that doesn't mean that they didn't see each other. It just means that the um, paparazzi was not able to somehow get a photo of them together. But that just is not normal. Last year, the guy Michael Rubin, he has an all white party on the 4th of July. The last 4th of July of 2023, Lo and Ben were at Michael Rubin's all white party together. And then this year, she's spending it alone in the Hamptons while he's in California. So, like, do you think I saw people mention that maybe they're trying to get the house to sell first and then they'll announce the divorce. I don't know why they would need to do that, but I've read people saying that online. Do you think that the marriage is over? Do you think that they're trying to work on it even though they're never around each other anymore? What is your opinion?
Well, honestly, my opinion is, and I think we've learned this from Hollywood relationships, once the couple starts spending holidays apart, it's usually mean that's a usual sign of a turning point in the relationship that's not for the good. So I definitely think they're getting divorced now that they're spending time in different places. But then it also makes sense because you got to think, especially with the amount that these homes sell for. These are family homes. Even though we think of mansions, usually when you have $65 million to spend on a mansion, you're coming in there with a wife and kids already. And in the home selling market, I don't think any newlywed couple wants to move into a home that was previously owned by two people who had a public divorce. So I agree. I think that's why they're keeping the decline of the relationship under wraps. Do I think they can work it out? I'm hoping they can work it out. I'm hoping no marriages ends and everybody can work it out. But unfortunately, when you're two different people, as you pointed out, one's an introvert, one is an extrovert, I think that makes it extremely difficult for a relationship to thrive.
But again, they knew that each other, that one of them was an introvert and the other was an extrovert. So why would you marry the opposite of yourself if you know it's going to be a problem? Because they are not like in their teenage years or not in their early 20s. Shouldn't they have talked about this or paid the money to get counseling? Like, if they really want to have a marriage that's going to last,
I think it's one of the shameful things that happens in society nowadays with marriages. I think he got with her expecting her ready to be settled down and to just want to live the quiet life with him. I think she got with him thinking, hey, you lived the quiet life for this amount of time. I want to say 18 months, maybe 2 years ago when they first got together. Ben Affleck had just dropped that movie where he was the mathematician and he was doing some action scenes. So I think he was thinking she was ready to settle down while she was looking at the success that movie was garnering as, oh, maybe he's going to be ready to get out there and get back into the hustle and bustle of Hollywood living and shaking and baking. So, as much as I agree with you, I think this is conversations they should have had. I think their level of success and wealth made it conversations that they avoided. And they ended up in a situation where they were both just assuming that each other wanted the same thing, but never really having a conversation about it.
So, do you think that by her spending like okay, so they're both still wearing their wedding rings. And that's been confirmed. I saw photos of her yesterday and a few days ago with her wedding ring on, Ben Affleck with his wedding ring on. Do you think that they're just do you think that they're possibly both are heading, they know that they're heading for divorce? He moved out his stuff like about 10 days ago while she was in Italy vacationing by herself. So she was just in Italy like 2 weeks ago vacationing by herself on a boat. No Ben Affleck in sight. Then she's in the Hamptons vacationing by herself. So I mean, I don't know, so do you think it's pretty much just over, or and they're just waiting for someone to buy this mega mansion?
I'm just like, I mean, how do they recover from the situation? There's spending time apart is clear strain on the relationship. And like you say, because they're spending time apart in separate places, I don't think that leaves any room for couples counseling or for them to work on their issues together. So it's definitely seeming to me like one, if not both parties have checked out of the relationship, they just have yet to notify us, the public.
If you don't fix that smoke detector, I swear, like, I don't know where you are located, but
I
maybe
really,
you
I
want,
really
maybe
want to
you
get
should
to it in
change
my.
rooms.
I'm literally in my room. There is no smoke detector upstairs. I don't hear the beep. I'm listening for it. So I'm always like, what beep is y'all hearing? There's one smoke detector upstairs, another smoke detector downstairs. It's a split level, but neither one of those smoke detectors have batteries in it. So I honestly don't know what beep that you're hearing.
Okay, okay. So let's move to the my next topic. Do you think at almost 55 years old, does J Lo can she basically bag one more guy of her quality, of her, of her, not a loser. I know she can get another guy, of course, but not a guy like a backup dancer and not a regular, guy. Can she get another guy of A Rod, Ben Affleck level? Can she bag another one?
Absolutely not. I think she's past her prime. I think she's had enough relationship history where most of successful men of her level just aren't going to be willing to take that chance. So honestly, I think the only real potential she has for an intimate is somebody that she can control, somebody that she's extremely more successful in. I think that's been the downfall of her relationship because she has definitely dated and married up. She just hasn't been successful at it, excuse me. So I don't know. I don't think she could. I don't think there's a man in her class of success that'll be willing to take a chance on her after so many failed, not only relationships, but marriages as well.
Are you still there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it cut out. So you're saying it's not her age. You're saying that it's because of her relationship history that no guy in her class would want to date her because of all the failed relationships.
Affirmative. I think she showed such an amount of unsuccessful relationships that a man who's looking for success of relationships would not give her the chance. I think especially four fail if this marriage ends, this would be her fourth failed marriage. And at this point we gotta start saying J Lo is the issue and not the men she's dating.
So what do you think it is about why so basically, let's just take the last couple guys. Why can't JLo keep why was she unable to um I guess she got the ring from A-Rod, but why did they end up not getting married? And then she did successfully get the ring from Ben Affleck. So she doesn't have a problem getting rings. It's just that once she gets married, the relationships don't work. So do you think that is it actually her fault? Does she pick men that are not, maybe she doesn't know how to choose the right men? Or do you really think it's really her fault?
I honestly think it's really her fault. I mean, when you're the picker and you make all the bad picks, we can no longer blame the picks. I think J Lo. Let's not forget, before she was J Lo, she was Jenny from the block. I think after she gets her hooks into you and you fall in love and you want to be with J Lo, I think the Jenny from the block comes out, and that's what men are having an aversion to. Either it's some kind of crazy attitude problem she has, or maybe it's a huge passive aggressive nature, or it can be something as simple as I'm J Lo. You don't get to tell me what to do, how to dress, where to go, how to behave. If it's go see my family or go visit your family, we're going to visit my family. And it's just a lot of successful men who would take umbrage with that, who would not be happy with having a woman that they can't control. Because if you look at her last relationships, Ben Affleck, A Rod, Mark Anthony, I mean, these are the pinnacle of success for men in their career fields.
But if you were J Lo, I don't know have time to look up her net worth, but it's definitely several hundred million. If you were J Lo, would you even listen to anyone when you have that amount of money?
Absolutely not. But as a man, if I was J Lo, I wouldn't be looking to marry a J Lo. I would be looking to marry one of them backup dancers who's gonna do what I say, act how I want them to act, and who would understand at the incept of our relationship that hey, nothing you care about or you feel about goes. It's gonna be the J Lo show or the highway. I think she's doing herself a disservice continuing to try to date men who are going to care less about her feelings and her want because of their success.
Okay, so Ben Affleck is, I believe, 51 years old, and A Rod's around 50. So if these guys, I'm assuming that they're not stupid. So let's just take Ben Affleck. If he wanted, I'm sure he's aware of what it's like to date a woman that is in his caliber, like Jennifer Garner or Jennifer Lopez. So if he wanted a woman to just do whatever he says that, doesn't have, the same level of money and fame that he does, he could have done it. But he didn't do it. He chose to go back to JLo. So why did he do that? Like it's Ben Affleck. So he like you're because okay. So some men will say, when if they were rich or famous, that these guys can get any chicks that they want. But I don't believe that they can get any chick they want. I think they can get any gold digger that they want. Because the thing is, when you're like a Ben Affleck or A Rod or LeBron James, because everyone knows who you are already, how are you going to know that the woman actually likes you for you and not because you have a lot of money? And the thing is, even if the woman likes you because you have a lot, like, she might actually like you, and then you're rich and successful. But the thing is, you're already rich and successful, so there's no way for me to know if I actually like you, because if I was okay, if I met a Ben Affleck, right? I already know that he's rich and successful. I can go look up his net worth. I could go see all. I already know. Like, I already can look up what movies you've done, how much you were paid. So, like, I would think that these guys know that the general public knows how much money you have, your success. So how can you find a regular person to love you for you if they are, they're going to know that you have all of this money? That you would have to find a woman who doesn't even know who you are, and that's not going to be possible if you're that famous.
And that's something that they kind of refer to. They're like, he's doing it the right way. They're like, when you're successful, like a Ben Affleck or a Rod or a Mark Anthony, even though you can get with any quote unquote gold digger, what they advise men of that success level is to only date women for marriage who have just as much to lose as they do. Because at the end of the day, when you have that fiscal responsibility of maintaining the relationship and taking care of the relationship, you can end up like Tyrese, where somebody who came from nothing now has these huge expectations of grandeur with you or without you. So I think that's why a Ben Affleck will circle back and date a J Lo or date someone else just as or nearly as famous as them, because they only want to date people who have something to lose. When you date someone who has nothing to lose, or where your losses would never compare to their losses, I think it creates an unfair power balance in the relationship. So I think that's why he avoided it and went after J Lo. And I think it's the same with J Lo. That's why she continues to date successful men, because as we're seeing culturally, when these successful women date and marry unsuccessful men, they end up paying the alimony and the child support and things of that ilk. So I think it's a crazy scenario, because it's you make too much money, you have too many demands to have a healthy relationship with J Lo. But anyone who's not J Lo, you're putting yourself at a significant risk.
Well, yeah, so like on her part and on his part, well, okay, so no woman wants to date down. So her dating down, J-Lo's dating down could be her dating an actor, or like someone like another actor who is actually successful, but he's not successful like on her level. But I don't think she would go lower than that. What would be the point? I would make no, she cannot just go out and go date a regular guy. The regular guy has everything to gain. She has nothing to gain unless she's just looking for love. But I don't think I would advise someone of the caliber and success of J Lo to just pick up a regular guy off the street. I At that point, you might as well just be alone.
But do you think she can humble herself enough to date a successful man?
To date a successful man?
Yes.
You mean like the example I gave, that the guy's successful but just not as rich as she is?
Yes. I think it's going to be, uh, if you would name some up and coming actors, or maybe some actors who reached success and they're looking just for a resurgence in her career, she might be more successful. But I really don't see many, if any, men on her level that she hasn't dated.
Oh, I don't know. I can't don't know if I can answer this. I would think that if the guy is actually serious, okay, if there's a man out there of a status that she would be interested in, if he was really looking for someone to get married to, like that stigma of all, like you said, of all the failed relationships, I don't, unless he's the type of person that Jennifer Lopez is his type, or he always wanted to, date her. I don't think a person that is serious would want to date someone that has four or five, four failed marriages. That would look bad. If I was, let's just say I'm a single man and I might have a failed marriage, or maybe I'd never been married before. Why would I want to marry someone that has that many failed marriages?
Not to mention the children component. She has them young kids. I think they're 12 and 13 now. I think that's a huge undertaking for a man. And I don't know. I just think J Lo has put herself in a very precarious position to where the men she would probably be the most successful with, she has too much pride for them to date her or for her to humble herself, but it's too risky to date men younger than her, so or less successful. So I really don't have the advice or the answer as to what the next relationship for Jennifer Lopez would look like.
So basically, she's screwed because she has too much money.
Yeah, unfortunately, due to hypergamy, women date up, and she's shown a success in being able to date upward. Just she hasn't shown success in able to maintain those relationships.
Basically, I don't know if you follow Jeff Bezos, but he's around 60 and he's engaged to a woman named Lauren Sanchez, who's a few years younger than him, who's Latina, and she needs to land a guy like that because I
Multi
forgot if it's, well, I think he's the second richest. I think the guy that owns Tesla, Elon Musk, is the richest man in the world. He's worth 220 billion, and Jeff Bezos is either like second or third. So she needs a guy like that. But I think the guy that her next relationship, the guy has to be okay with attention, cameras, fame. If he's a guy that doesn't love fame, then it's not going to work.
I would say the only people who love fame are famous people and people who want to be famous. And, that opens up a whole bag of snakes with her because I think at where she is in life, it, it's going to be a lot of men only dating her for the fame that she can attribute or they can associate from her career to theirs. So I think, to me, she has a lot of impetus to try to make this relationship work with Ben Affleck. It's just I don't know. I think she's in a very very tough spot, and I don't never want to say anybody's fate is being alone, but I don't when I quantify the success of people and who she could date, I really don't see in the current market of celebrities anybody worth J Lo's time.
Did we lose connection? I don't hear you anymore.
No, I'm still here. I've been steadily talking.
Do you want to repeat what you just said because it went your mic was off?
No, okay, yeah, I was saying based on the current pool of celebrities, I don't see anyone that's worth J Lo's time at present. Anyone who's at a comparable or maybe lesser but still successful level as her, who's ready to settle down and be in a relationship with a 55-year-old woman. I just don't see her having many, if any, options out there.
Should J Lo call Diddy? I mean, he's pretty much toast.
Yeah, I don't know. 'Cause I think 'cause Diddy was one of the people who was like, I always loved her. We both grew up. I always knew about her. I think they went to the same private school together growing up. And but what we know about Diddy now, we can understand why the relationship with J Lo didn't work. So I honestly, I don't know. I don't really have any suggestible partners for J Lo to even date at present. Just date, not even marry. I couldn't name anybody that's worth J Lo dating at the present.
So should JLo take a year off after her divorce, take a year off, spend time with her kids. Don't worry so much about making movies and music. Like take a year off, get therapy, and then maybe try to go back out there and, after that year off or two, and then see if she still wants to try to find love again.
I think she really needs to have a hard conversation with herself about what she wants the rest of her life to look like. If she thinks the rest of her life includes a fifth marriage, a fifth, buying of expensive homes, a fifth person trying to include in her life, then I think she should do it. But if the future that she sees for herself is just being happy and content and raising her two young children, I think she should more focus on that and just count her losses. She married and dated some pretty spectacular and great men. She's had a very great and spectacular career, and I think that's just going to be the summarization of her life.
Okay, well, I think you guys, I thank you for coming on the show, my very first live. And there's been, I don't know if you could see, there's been up to 7 people watching, which is not very many, but it is the first live. I want to thank you guys all for watching. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed. And I might have to agree with you. I don't know who would um, take JLo serious at this point. And I do hope that they work it out, but it doesn't really look like they can. Um, so yeah, there you guys have it. OG, thank you for coming on. Do you want to say anything to the people who are watching live now or who may watch this later?
Yes, please, everyone watching, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I really want to thank you, Kelly. This has been a great live and a great conversation, and I appreciate you for having me up here on your panel.
Well, I appreciate you for coming on, definitely. And I can't wait to do another live with you. And yeah, thank you for coming on. Typically a lot of, like, I won't say all, but many of the men that like to talk about celebrities, they may not well, I probably shouldn't say this. So maybe you could think into like what I was about to get at, but I think I will not say that, what I was thinking to say. But thank you very much for coming on. Thank you, Nab, for leaving 2 comments. You are the first person that has ever commented on on my channel on my first live. So I think that's going to wrap up everything. And I think we are going to come back later for another live on a different topic. Do you think that you have enough time to come on again for a brand new topic?
Yes, for sure. As long as I get a little time to make myself more abreast on the subject matter like I did with this one, yeah, no problem.
Okay, so that's going to wrap up everything. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. And OG, I will talk to you later. Thanks, everyone.